Want dis ons land, dis ons taal, en sonder soek aan ons gaan stories. Waar wil lewe in die tuine, hoog gebou uit sand, die helder see en die goue straat. Die landskap wat oor generasies vertel, die harte wat in ritme met die golwe val. Ons land,
Goeiemiddag. Nou vandag het die nuustoneel hier in Namibië drasties verander natuurlik. Dit is weens die bevestiging van die eerste 2 gevalle van die coronavirus of dan COVID-19 in ons land. Ons hoogtepunte van Kletskompas is daarom vandag so 'n bietjie later as gewoonlik en ons gaan eers vir jou Grepe speel uit die nuuskonferensie deur die ministerie 11:00 vanoggend en dan ook baie belangrike inligting uit ons eerste uitsending wat ons spesiaal oor COVID-19 vandag as Namibia Media Holdings uitgesaai het. Daarna kan jy kyk na die res van die hoogtepunte van die week.
With a sober heart, I must announce this morning that COVID-19 has reached our country. The positive COVID-19 results were received last night on Friday, the 13th of March 2020 at around 21 hours. The tests were conducted on 2 travelers who came to Namibia from Spain. The travelers, who are a couple, started their journey from Madrid, Spain, via Doha, Qatar, and arrived in Zimbabwe on Wednesday, the 11th of March 2020. On arrival at Jose Kutako International Airport, the couple was screened like all other passengers and also completed travel declaration as is procedure. The screening procedure did not reveal any sign to cause concern. On the same day, one of the couple presented to a private medical practice with complaints of a cough. The attending medical doctor, taking into account the travel history and the individual, determined that samples should be taken for confirmatory test of COVID-19. The specimen was sent to a private laboratory, which in turn sent them for testing in South Africa. As I stated earlier, the test results were received from South Africa yesterday night. Thus, I hereby announce that there are 2 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Namibia. The couple to whom the positive result relate was immediately quarantined and contact tracing commenced. This will be intensified to ensure that all contacts are traced in order to protect the Namibian public and prevent community transmission.
Good afternoon and welcome to Namibia Media Holdings' first update after the coronavirus has now been confirmed in our country. With me is senior journalist Denver Christine. Good afternoon, Denver.
Good afternoon, Danny, and good afternoon to all our viewers on all our Facebook platforms of Namibia Media Holdings, being Republican, Namibian Sun, Algemene Zeitung, Windhoek Express, and Irongo.
Now, we'll be bringing you a couple of interviews very shortly. Denver, what does the global situation look like at the moment?
Don, it's indeed quite a devastating picture as far as I'm concerned. At the moment, 142,320 reported cases of COVID-19, 5,388 deaths. As far as the number of countries are concerned, 129 countries. We do believe that Namibia has not yet been included in the number of countries, so we know then of at least 130 countries.
Yes, that map you just saw there is from the website of the World Health Organization. So that's really the most up-to-date confirmed information from that side. And Denver, so yes, we show you another map now, and Namibia is now part of this map. And this map also shows how apparently the virus did travel to our country.
Yes, Donnie. Namibians were very concerned about it, but I think what was clear from the beginning that it was imminent. And this morning, the Minister of Health and Social Services, Dr. Kalumbi Shangula, did announce to the nation that we have 2 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Namibia. We understand that the couple had travelled to Namibia from Spain.
From Spain, yes, probably then via Doha to Windhoek. Ministry said they're also following up on everyone that has been in contact with them. Very important, Namibians were asked not to panic, not to send fake news around, and President Hage Geingob also had a very important briefing today. What was the essence of his announcement?
Yes, Donnie, the head of state, following the announcement by the Ministry of Health and Social Services earlier, also had a press briefing at State House just at about noon. And he announced a number of measures. Firstly, the independence celebrations scheduled for next Saturday, that's the 21st of March 2020, have been called off. The swearing in of the president, that is President Geingob, for his second and last term, Donnie, will continue, but it will be conducted at State House. As far as the money that has been budgeted is concerned for the independence celebrations, we now know that the head of state announced that this money will be used to fight coronavirus outbreak in Namibia. We don't have an indication yet as to how much money has been budgeted and how much money is available. We expect an announcement in that regard in due course. What we also know is that a local private school has been locked down for 14 days. Travel from and to destinations relating to Qatar, Germany, as well as Ethiopia have also been put on hold for the next 30 days. The president also said that all international travel by Namibian government officials have also been put on hold for the time being. And what we also know is that huge gatherings, not only relating to next Saturday's envisaged independence celebration, have also been put on hold.
We are trying to get some more information on that. The head of state mentioned public gatherings. So we'll try to tell people exactly how big the gathering and how sport will be affected. But for that, we'll bring you further updates from tomorrow onwards.
Social media posts are anything to go by. There does seem to be concern. Namibians seem to be very worried. Do you have any words of encouragement? How can we protect ourselves?
All right. So this disease, as I mentioned earlier, it's the first time globally in history that a coronavirus has caused this much havoc. Yeah. So it's really up to us to alter the trajectory or the course of this outbreak. And we need to remember that we are not at the mercy of this virus. The age-old war, man versus bugs, it keeps on intensifying because we keep getting new superbugs coming up on the scene, something similar to the coronavirus. But we are still also, as experts are globally investigating and trying to figure out more information on the disease, we need to practice very simple steps. We can practice very simple steps to really prevent ourselves and our loved ones from getting this disease. So, for example, washing hands. That is, for example, a single most cost-effective public health intervention. Washing your hands with running water and soap, very critical. For example, after handling or caring for someone that has coronavirus, or for example, before you eat, after using the toilet, basic hygiene measures. And health workers every time in between patients need to practice their hand hygiene as well. And there's also the respiratory hygiene that we should be practicing. For example, if you have the disease, you need to make sure that when you cough in your elbow like this. Yeah. Do not cough in your hands, or if you cough in a tissue, but not in your hands, because if you touch someone or some surfaces, you can actually spread the disease that way. And also dispose your tissues or whatever you're using to get rid of the mucus and so on into a dustbin. Dispose it responsibly. Don't just throw it around, because a kid can pick it up and then transmission continues that way. The other thing is also not just avoiding large gatherings, big gatherings. I really commend our president, His Excellency Dr. Hage Geingob, for calling off the independence celebrations, because if the virus is here, and that could be a disaster if it spreads, among our Namibians. So that is really a commendable action, and in general, people should avoid large gatherings and weddings, funerals, large parties, things like that. And if you know that, or if you notice that somebody has a disease, or you know that someone has a disease or is coughing and so on, you should stay away at least 2 meters away from this person.
Thank you.
It spreads in that sense.
Thank you very much, Doctor. And a coronavirus-free. Great. Thank you very much for your time, Doctor.
So what we've seen in other countries, and that's a concern, is people do panic buying. They buy
the masks
and the hand sanitizers. And then what ultimately happens is, when we actually need them, we don't have. So the hospitals will potentially run out of stock.
Yeah.
And then the other aspect is, mask, for instance, won't help you.
It won't.
It doesn't protect you. Where a mask is effective is if there's a patient who's sick, we're quarantining him at home, and then he's got a mask and he can't spread it to his family, etc. That's the one. So the patient who's infected has got the disease. There, a mask is a benefit, but it makes there's no benefit to wear it as a protective measure.
Exactly. If somebody that's a reader or a listener, or they are now experiencing symptoms like fever or cough or one of that, what would you suggest we do? Do we now go to a doctor?
I think this is a very, very, very important question. So what I've been advising my patients, and from the hospital where I work and my colleagues, is basically that the first contact be a telephone call.
Okay. So not physically going in.
Don't go to the doctor's rooms. Pick up the phone your doctor, your general practitioner, tell him these are my symptoms. That he will then determine whether it's necessary for you to seek help or not. I mean, most of the cases, as I said, will be managed at home with Panado and symptomatic treatment, pain relief, etc. But if we unnecessarily visit the doctors, then we run the risk of spreading the disease. So first contact, telephone call, and then the doctor will then decide, yes, you're sick enough to be seen, but at least then he can arrange that you are seen at a facility where they prepared for you, where
they can be isolated,
etc. So that if I can stress that the first contact should be a telephone call, that's
to your doctor.
That's probably the best, to your house doctor.
Lastly, Dr. Willie, something that you also mentioned is that you want to make sure that you don't overburden your health system.
Yes.
And there's a lot of, I'm a health journalist, so I write a lot about the public sector. So I think that's where a lot of panic also comes in. You feel we are able to...
Yeah, if we can slow the spread of the disease over a period of time, then the health system will be able to cope. It's the only risk that we see in Italy, for instance, whereas opposed to in China, they managed to slow the risk, spread the patients over a longer period of time. By doing that, the healthcare system was able to cope. In Italy, there was undetected patients for a long period of time. Too many too soon, and then suddenly there's just too many patients for the healthcare system to cope. So what we really want to try and do is to spread the time longer, as opposed to seeing X amount of patients in, say, 3 weeks. We would rather prefer to see them over a 4-month period.
Well, this is the worst that could have happened to us, to be quite honest, and we were fearing it. I can't even say that we expected it. We were hoping that Namibia wouldn't take that route, but we have full understanding of why this decision was taken, given the first positive corona cases this morning. And as the President himself has said, the health of Namibians come first. And as a Namibian, I have to agree with him. But it is catastrophic for tourism, I must admit, because Qatar, Ethiopia, and our transport from Germany, and that includes 3 airlines. It's our own national airline, but it's also Eurowings and Condor. Those are the key bringers of our tourism industry, and basically it means that for the next 30 days tourism will be on a shutdown.
What is your message at this stage to people in the hospitality industry?
We've had a lot of discussions and we are in constant communication with emails and WhatsApp group, etc. The most important thing that we now need to do is not to panic. We have had already communication with government and through our ministry, but even Bank of Namibia. We are talking to banks. Tourism would need some kind of assistance from the authorities now, not financial assistance because we know nobody runs around with big pockets of money. But things like tax incentives, tax breaks, tax holidays, maybe a reduction on interest fees on bank loans, for instance, because our companies are sitting, and not only the small ones, the big ones are also sitting on a cash flow problem because for the foreseeable future, obviously they won't have any income. And given the panic and the reaction internationally, people have almost decided not to travel for 2020, which means that for the rest of the year, the current percentages are that tourism is down by between 30 and 40%. Some say that it's even going to be 50% down. But this will wave over like all the other pandemics have done. So maybe come end of April, we will see everybody has calmed down and everything is back to normal. So we shouldn't do the crazy thing of selling ourselves out and saying you can come to Namibia for almost next to nothing, just come. Just keep level-headed, but we do need to stand together, tour operators, the suppliers of infrastructure such as the hotels, lodges, etc., but also our leaders, our government. We need to see how we can get through this financial mess.
Gita, thank you so much for your time, and thank you also for this message to our tourism industry.
Thanks.
weet die vloed het eintlik nou maar eers begin en dit gaan nog veel erger raak. En dit het reeds 'n groot impak op skole en ontwrigskoolverrigtinge. Wat is die situasie?
Ja, Ronel, soos ons nou tereg sien op bladsy 1 nou vandag van die koerant, is meer as 36,000 leerlinge wat reeds geraak word deur skole wat noodgedwonge moes sluit. Natuurlik word nie sommer neer die skole gesluit nie, dit is vir leerlinge se veiligheid. 103 skole word geraak en dis nou nie om Isati, Oshana en in die Oangwena streke. Die meeste van hierdie skole is pre-primêre en primêre klasse. Dis natuurlik kleintjies wat jy nou nie wil hê moet deur riviere en strome nou skool toe gaan nie, want om natuurlik vir hulle veiligheid. Daar is gebeurlikheidsplanne in plek vir, soos jy tereg genoem het, ook die seisoen het nou maar eers begin, die Funja en al dit. En die leerlinge sal hierdie klasse kan inhaal in die vakansie en dan nou ook naweke.
Nou, maar in hierdie eerste vakansie gaan waarskynlik nog steeds baie nat wees. Jy weet, gaan die oceanas nog vol wees. Ek onthou baie goed met die vorige oorstromings of vorige baie fel Ifunja, het dit maande gevat, jy weet, voordat mense weer deur daardie water kon beweeg.
Die kommer bestaan en natuurlik dat onderwysers nou nie deur syllabusse gaan kom nie, maar soos die ministerie van onderwys nou ook gesê het, daar is planne in plek en die kinders sal skool toe gaan, maar vir nou is hulle by die huis.
Kom hier na skole toe, waar ek kan praat met die kinders om hulle aan die lees te kry. En ja, ook by die hoërskole om die gee vir hulle raad oor hoe kan hulle opstelle skryf. Ons gaan oor lees en oor boeke en oor skryf en oor kreatiwiteit hierdie week. Later die aand toe ek en my kollega van Lapa toe ons gaan iets eet, kom maar ekkie daar aangehardloop met sy blink oogies en hy soek die skrywer van Kaptein Verdwyn en hy het die boek in die hand en hy wil sy vir handtekening hê. Nou ek weet nie hoe hy ons opgespoor het in die hele sakke hoe ek weet het is daar nie, maar hier kom hy in die boek en die TM en ek moet vol teken en hy verdwyn weer so rukkie en altyd kom hy weer terug en toe het hy sy skooltas in die hande en die skooltas moet ook geteken word. Ja, en deel het rukkie uit en hy sê, nee, sy naam is Adriaan, sy naam is Sebastian. Ja, so dit was wonderlik geweest. Die eienaar van die plek het vir ons gesê, die ou het nie daar opgekom en hy is so die skrywer en die eienaar sê, maar hy weet nie wat is wie is die skrywer, waar is die skrywer tussen al die mense, so dit was nogal oulik geweest. Hy is seker 'n groot aanhanger, 'n groot leser, dat was baie oulik.
Môre, uit te mistig en effens kouerige swak op Moontlie Andre.
Goeiemôre ouers en goeiemôre aan ons Kletskompas kykers.
Ja, soos dit die gebruik is gesels ons voorbladnuus.
Ja, en bring vir julle alles wat lekker in die rongo is. En dan ons bring ook vir julle onderhoud met Dr. Aino Mvula van Nemwater wat ons gaan gesels oor hoe lank die water in die Hartapdam gaan hou en watervoorsiening in sentrale Namibië. En dan bring Maison ook vir julle skole in nuus.
Ons sien julle nou. Vandag se Republikein kan daar gelees word oor altesaam 86 dolfyne wat uitgespoel het by Hottentots by naby Loederits. En hierdie diere is toe daar ontdek en volgens kenners is dit 'n raaisel. Daar's net nie 'n oorsaak hoekom dit gebeur het. Ja, en dan iets wat op almal se tonge en in almal se oë is mos nou hierdie entrepreneur wat op Facebook in 'n verwysing na president Hage Geingob as 'n hond geverwys het, jy weet. En dit het glo skerp reaksie ontlok, aangesien dit te ver gaan, dit is skree en dit dryf ook in teen die morele waardes, meen baie kenners.
Ja, nee, my Facebook is ook vol van almal wat ietsie te sê daaroor.
4 lekker propvol gemeenskap nuusblaaie in vandag se Republikein. En ons spring weg. 2 maatskappye het nou kragtig gesnoer en 'n unieke herwinningsdromme op Swakopmund en Henties Bay aangebring. So
hierdie ouetjie.
Dis hoekom ons hier is om vir julle te wys hoe dit lyk. En dan in Narrewil het lede van die Sekdwellers Federation van Namibië tans besig om hulle grond wat hulle gekry het om hulle eie huisies te bou voor te berei.
Goed.
So ja, hulle is van plan om hulle eie bakstene te maak en dit is nou om die kostes bietjie af te bring vir die konstruksie van hierdie huise. En dan volgens die voorsitter van die tak, Francisco Marie, het 30 lede reeds training gekry van Orongo, ek dink Orongo Brickmaking Academy om stene te maak. En die groep het ook onlangs 'n baksteenmasjien by die Orongo streekse gouverneur meneer Cleophas Mutjavika ontvang. En hulle het hierdie masjien die gouverneur gedoop. So die plan is, hulle sê hulle gaan nou in alle erns begin bakstene maak en hulle wil so 1000 stene per dag maak. En dan hulle wil ook hulle eie mangate giet en hulle wil dit self installeer en hulle wil dit alles doen net om kostes nog meer af te bring vir hulle huisies. En dan die opvulling van die grond was 'n groot kopseer vir hierdie groep mense. Hulle sukkel al 13 jaar om dit gedoen te kry. So die munisipaliteit het ingespring en dinge kom nou na kant toe.
Daar
So hulle is
sê-
baie opgewonde en ons in Walvisbaai en Narrewil in geheel is ook vir hulle
Definitief
part
ook dus,
opgewonde.
ja.
Hardapdam is now 43%. Has 43% of total supply, and that is around 126 million cubic meters. Because we have irrigation schemes there, the consumption, the water demand for the irrigation scheme as well as the town is already 43 million cubic meters.
Is that
the annual? Yeah. So if you take into consideration the evaporation also, which is calculated to be also around the same region, so it's also around 43 million cubes of water that get evaporated while they're just standing in the dam. So that gives you about 86 million cubic meters. So per annum that is required to be there to cater for irrigation as also to make provision for the water losses in terms of evaporation. So from that point of view, looking at the volume that we have, we are looking at a supply of only 1 year, so that we are secured of not beyond that if there is no inflows in the next rainy season. So I think the situation, although it has improved, it does mean that we are totally out of the danger. It depends on the events that happens again during the next rainy season. So I think what is important is for the residents and for the users of the water there to ensure that we still use the water wisely and also more efficiently. You mentioned about the canal. Yes, the canal was broken, and I understand that work has started or to start to repair the canal so that the normal supply of water, particularly to the farmer, continue as it has been in the past.
Anything else you would like to mention, like to focus people's attention on?
The message that I want to leave with the members of the public is basically that to realize and accept that we live in a water scarce country, and that we should just do our best in terms of using the water wisely and ensure that it's there and it's available for all of us.
Gistermiddag redelik laterig het ons kennis gekry dat president Hage Geingob uitgaan na die Hosea Kutako lughawe om die veldhospitaal wat ingerig is vir moontlike gevalle van COVID-19 te gaan besoek.
Ja.
Praat 'n bietjie met my oor die voorblad vandag.
Ja, Ronel, ek dink is interessant, die kritiek wat gister dan nou uitgespreek is ja, die veldhospitaal dan nou is goed toegerus, maar waar is die personeel, waar is die bemanning? So interessant, daarom sien ek dat dit dan nou ons ministerie is, maar ook die CDC, die siektebeheer en voorkomingsentrum en dan nou ook die Wêreldgesondheidsorganisasie wat dan saam hier betrokke is. En dan ook ons ander voorblad artikel, die baie kontrakteursmaatskappy RCC wat ons steeds nie weet oor die toekoms nie en steeds wag op 'n kabinetsbesluit oor die maatskappy.
Ontstellend alweer dat daar baie mense is van die RCC se werknemers wat nou al geruime tyd by die huis sit. Hulle kry maandelikse salaris, maar hulle sit by die huis.
Ja.
Die RCC wat net 2 projekte in hierdie stadium het, dit is die pad tussen Swakopmund en Entjes Baai en dan die tweede fase van die Gobabis Aminospad, waarin hulle werk. Verder staan die toerusting daar, ons sien die foto van die padskrapers met hulle papwiele.
Ja.
Tragies, die belastingbetaler wat opdok. En ja, terwyl ons nou hier praat, Elvira, is daar 'n groot nuuskonferensie aan die gang, juis oor die COVID-situasie, en almal hou natuurlik asem op daaroor. Nee. Maar intussen kry ons nog 'n hele klomp reënfoto's en reënvideo's, soos hierdie een wat op die 2 Maart deur meneer Jan Farmer geneem is. Dis die Konkiep rivier daaronder in die suide. Hy loop natuurlik in die Visrivier in. Elvira, kyk, daar is werklik 'n groot hoeveelheid water.
Ja.
En ons het ook gesien dat die Visrivier het ook by die Oranje rivier uitgekom.
Ja.
So ja, die Visrivier is werklik 'n enorme voedingsbron dan nou vir watervoorsiening in die suide. Die damme Hardap, die Noute, die Nuwe Neckartaldam.
Ja. Almal wat van hom afhanklik is.
En dan ook 'n ander foto wat ons gekry het van Bjorn Basler. Hy's ook een van die mense wat gereeld vir ons foto's stuur. Lieflik dan nou 'n ligfoto van die Kalahari en die strate tussen die duine. Jy weet, ons is almal so gewoond aan die Kalahari met sy duine. Nou ja, nou is dit groen en
pragtig.
Ek kan nog onthou alweer in Januarie en selfs Februarie die foto's wat 'n mens gesien het wat jou eintlik jou hart laat saamtrek het oor daai boere se lot toe dit nog nie gereën het nie. En dan alweer die ander ding wat ons meningspeiling oor die reënsituasie hou ons nou hierdie week nog op. Hy's al verlede week gelaai, maar om 'n bietjie idee te kry van hoe dit in die land gereën het. Nou ja, 42.2% van ons lesers sê hulle het meer as gewoonlik reën gekry, maar dan ook 'n kommerwekkende 22.2% wat sê hulle het baie min of nog niks reën gekry nie. Gaan neem gerus deel aan ons meningpeiling. En dit is dan ons nuusgesprek vir hierdie Woensdagoggend. Dankie dat jy by my gekuier het.
Dankie, Ronel.
Namibia ready for a COVID-19 case or an outbreak?
Well, Namibia has been doing a lot to prepare for this, and we're actually very fortunate because we've had weeks, even months now, where other countries have been dealing with this. They've had cases, and it came to them very suddenly with a lot of surprise. And we still today, as of right now, don't have any confirmed cases in Namibia. So we've had all this time to prepare, to learn as much as we can. Every day, scientists are learning new things about this virus.
Of course, yes.
So we can understand it better, we can be better prepared. So that's really valuable. A lot is being done to prepare Namibia right now in a lot of different ways. Can we guarantee that no case will come here? Of course not.
Of course not.
We don't have anything magical protecting us that's different than all the other countries who have had cases already.
Of course.
But we're using this extra time as a real benefit for our preparations.
The CDC's involvement specifically here in Namibia, of course you're involved in the global outbreak, but here in Namibia, what does it entail?
It's good to know, I think, that CDC's actually been here in Namibia since 2002. We're under the U.S. Embassy. We are an American government agency, but we've been here working on health issues with Namibia for 18 years. So I didn't just fly in last week for coronavirus. I've only been here 2 years myself, but we have an office of people that has been working closely with Namibia on these health issues, including emergencies like this, for many years. So it means that now when a new challenge comes, coronavirus arrives, we can look at it together and we can work from a already strong relationship. So we're involved in the laboratory testing part, we're involved in the tracing of cases and possible cases and the clinical management, all the preparation for those things that we think might be necessary in the coming weeks or months. We're working with government on strengthening those so we're in the best possible shape.
Ons land, ons taal.
Denver, jy was gisteroggend by Staatshuis toe die hoofvlak ekonomiese paneel hulle plan vir ekonomiese hervorming in die land bekend gemaak het. Gesels bietjie met my daaroor.
Ja, Ronel, ons weet president Hage Geingob het verlede jaar hierdie paneel aangestel om te help om die ekonomie om te keer. En hulle het 'n 10-punt plan gister onthul wat in breë trekke met makro-ekonomiese bestendigheid verband hou, maar ook werkskepping. Op die werkskeppingfront sê hulle ons moet onderskeid tref tussen 2 tipes werkskepping. Ons het gegradueerdes in Namibia wat nie werk het nie, en vir hulle beveel hulle 1 jaar lange internskapprogram aan, en vir mense wat werk soek maar nie die vaardighede het nie, voel hulle ons moet die moontlikhede binne die landboubedryf beter ontgin. Ons het ook gehoor, ons dalk een van die omstrede aanbevelings, dat elkeen wat tans in 'n stedelike gebied op 'n stuk grond in 'n informele nedersetting sit, moet hy stuk grond gratis kry. Die paneel voel dit sal help om die boubedryf 'n hupstoot te gee, dit sal bydra tot die mense se waardigheid. Geldige vrae wat gevra word is, gaan dit dalk verstedeliking as 'n probleem vererger, gaan mense nou meer na stedelike gebiede toe stroom in 'n poging om 'n gratis stuk grond te kry. Hulle het ook aanbevelings gemaak rondom die toekenning van ons hulpbronne, of dit nou diamante is of viskwotas is, dat dit deursigtiger bestuur behoort te word. Dis 'n storie wat ontvou soos ons ontleeders kry om kommentaar te lewer op hierdie aanbevelings, en uiteindelik moet die president besluit of hy die aanbevelings in werking gaan stel. Ons weet ook dat die komitee nie 'n kosteontleding gedoen het nie. Ons weet nie hoeveel dit gaan kos om al hierdie planne in werking te stel. En ons weet baie dikwels is daar pragtige idees, maar hoe dit in die praktyk in werking gestel kan word, is waar die probleemareas lê. Ons weet ook hulle het nie korrupsie in berekening gebring en die impak daarvan op die ekonomie, en sou dit hok geslaan word of ons dalk ons ellende vinniger kan omkeer.
Ek gaan so vinnig net noem die storie bo op die blad, die renoster weesie, 'n renoster kalfie wat by haar ma se karkas gevind is so 'n week gelede, verlede Saterdag. En nou Hans met die bottel groot gemaak word. Nou ons gaan uitspeel hierdie nuusgesprek met 'n video op die plaas van hierdie klein renosterweesie met die naam van Nolien.
This is Mariska, and she's been here all day trying to comfort the little massive rhino baby, and he's still a bit sleepy from the, what do you call that?
Yeah, from the immobilization drugs.
From the that word. And then now
It's also the stress. So she has been now, her mom is dead for probably 24 hours. So it's also stress and being without mom for a while. So now she's fighting so much not to fall asleep because you don't know if she's safe. What will happen if she falls asleep? Do the hyenas come or what happens? So she's just scared and stressed. So nice. Nice. Oh my god. But do you want to have it so high?
No, I just want to get my arm in there.
I understand that there are also changes coming in terms of taxes. How do you think that's going to affect manufacturers?
In fact, the changes in taxes have already been done. It's already in place. There is no more, as we are speaking today, there is no more incentive for manufacturers at all, which is absolutely bad news because, as you can imagine, with no incentive in place, there is currently absolutely nothing that will basically encourage traders to migrate into manufacturing activity. And as I always say, you know, that for Namibia to go forward, we need to compare ourselves with success stories in our region. And one of our biggest challenges right now, because of the fact that incentives have been abolished, is that we are having to compete with neighboring countries like Botswana. Botswana, as we are talking, their manufacturing incentive tax bracket for manufacturing activities is anything between 0 and 7%. 7 is the absolute maximum. A newcomer starts with 0 for a long period until they have overcome the initial business setup activities. Now compare 7% with our current 32% for manufacturers, and you can see how unequal the playing field is and how terrible Namibia is actually, you know, handling this very much important sector. This sector is extremely important for job creation and wealth creation. Without wealth creation, you cannot create sufficient work, job opportunity for the thousands of our fellow jobless Namibians who are roaming in the streets of Namibia. As we are talking, unemployment in Namibia is skyrocketing.
Yes.
I estimate it to be at least 40%. And the experts reckon that the unemployment among the youth is 50%.
Yeah.
So we have a serious problem.
They took away the manufacturing status incentive, which is the tax incentive primarily. But they did not replace it with something else. We understand the reason behind why it was sort of taken away, so that everybody can, at the end of the day, be treated equally. It was not only the big company. But you can't take something away that creates thousands and thousands of jobs in the manufacturing industry and does not replace it with something else.
But what could we be doing differently in terms of promoting manufacturing in Namibia?
What we can do, there's a whole lot of things that we can do. Number one, we can incentivize the sector, as I alluded to the tax incentive. Number two, we can encourage Namibians to buy Namibians. Number three is government. Right now, as we are talking, it is a fact that the NIF bill is currently on the table of Parliament.
Yes.
It is bad. It is wrong. Bad timing. Everything is just wrong. It's bad for investors. It's bad for manufacturing. And it's bad for employment creation. It's bad for wealth creation.
Die Namapals Recovery Cup is basies 'n combination van 3 sportskodes waar skole kan deelneem, naamlik six-a-side soccer, sevens rugby en fast 5 netbal. Dis baie verskriklik opwindend. Die kinders is lief daarvoor en ja, dit is basies waar dit gaan en ook om te groei, om kinders te expose, basies dat hulle kan meer opportunities kan kry buitekant, ja, nie net die normale run-of-the-mill type of sportsoorte wat daar is nie. En die hele Gravity Cup gaan oor 'n eindpunt en wat die build-up was, want die hele Gravity Cup het basies getravel oor die land, sy kus, noorde, ons het die suidebeen wind toe gebring, sentraal, en wat gebeur is, dan is daar 'n culmination, spanne kwalifiseer om deur te gaan finals toe, ja, wat gebeur nou eintlik hierdie naweek nou in Windhoek, ja.
Micheline, ons het omtrent so 2 jaar terug besluit om dit te doen. Hy het met die idee opgekom en ons het saam daaroor besluit dat dit gegaan oor ons wil die kinders wegkry van die TV's en die iPads en dit en ons wil hulle 'n bietjie op die sportgronde kry. So dit was die main aim agter die Gravity Cup.
Ons land ontstaan.
Dit is so wat 'n week weg van Namibië se onafhanklikheidsvieringe, die 30ste onafhanklikheidsvieringe in Namibië, en ons kuier vandag by die Wetenskaplike Vereniging van Namibië. Hulle het tans 'n spesiale uitstalling aan die gang van 'n hele klomp artefakte, memorabilia, fotos uit daardie tyd wat ons terugvat na 30 jaar gelede. Ek hoop julle geniet hierdie volgende halfuur hier by die Wetenskaplike Vereniging.
Die uitstalling is eintlik om te wys waarvan ons kom in die mood en die feeling van die 21ste Maart 1990 en so ons het besluit dat ons nie heeltemal agter gaan nie, maar net die dag en die maand toe die mense vir die verkiesings gedoen het en die uitstukke kom van meneer Frans Ehrlich. Het die collection gehad waar ons die boeke in die uitstalling ook daarbij gekry het en dit is eintlik net te wys hoe die mense van Namibië gevoel het op die dag wat ons onafhanklikheid gekry het.
Jy was toe nog nie eers gebore nie, Esther. Hoe voel dit vir jou as 'n sogenaamde newborn om betrokke te wees by hierdie geskiedenis?
Dit is eintlik 'n regte privilege en dit voel eintlik mooi om dat ek weer terug kan kyk hoe mense die dag gecelebreer het.
Goeiemôre en baie dankie vir die geleentheid. Ons het na aan 27,000 foto's wat ons gekry het van Kirsten Gaia. Dit was deel van die Frans Ehrlich collection wat ons gekry het in die biblioteek. Ons het toe besluit om dit vir die exhibit uit te verkies en ons het baie foto's geselect. Daar is nie 'n sekere tema nie, ons wil net gewys het van die verkiesings, wat aangegaan het, wat die atmosfeer was, hoe die mense gevoel het, wat hulle aangehaat het, die partye en so aan.
En jy het die taak gehad om deur al 27,000 daai foto's te werk. Dit is 'n enorme taak.
Ja, presies. Dit is nie 'n maklike taak soos u gesê het, daar is baie foto's, so dit gaan aan van voor die verkiesings vir 'n jaar lank tot die verkiesings na aan en so aan. En ons het nog besluit, wat kan ons wys vir die mense? Wat se gevoel wil ons uitsaai vir die mense, wat hulle kan sien dat hoe ons land begin het en wat belangrik is aan ons geskiedenis en wat ons identiteit was daai tyd of hoe ons gevorm het as 'n nasie. Toe besluit ons, kom ons kies maar so min of meer 250. Toe sny ek hulle af tot 216 en so. Hulle vertel nou 'n hele storie van almal wat betrokke was, die delegate, die kinders, die ou mense, die groot mense, die politicians, die leiers en so aan. En dit is 'n baie netjiese kolleksie. En ek moet sê, Kirsten Guy het 'n baie goeie werk gedoen waar sy was aan die foto's, rondom die land, binne by die stadium, by die lughawe en na die verkiesings en so aan. So hulle is baie wonderlike foto's wat wys wat aangegaan het in daai tydperk.
Ek raak natuurlik baie sentimenteel en emosioneel as ek sien, dis nou al 30 jaar gelede. Mens kyk na die ou foto's en jy was so nou betrokke, jy was jonk, jy was so entoesiasties, jy was passievol om hierdie land se toekoms te te laat werk en ons was almal benoud, laat ek dit ook sê, want niemand het geweet wat gaan kom nie. Ons het hierdie vyand in die buite ons grense, die SWAPO gehad. Ons het nie geweet wat gaan gebeur in die toekoms nie. Ons was nie almal so seker of die Verenigde Nasies eintlik in staat is om die bestel wat ons nodig het reg te kry, maar ons was vasberade om dit te laat werk. En dit was die gevoel van meeste mense in die land hier. Ons het met mekaar geskakel, ons het met mekaar gepraat en ek was betrokke by 'n instansie wat 11 spanne na 11 bevolkingsgroepe, dit was natuurlik die toenmalige regering, nie die waarvoor ek gewerk het nie, maar die bestel van die tyd uitgestuur het en ons het doelbewus programme laat loop waar ons die mense ingelig het oor algemene menseregte. Wat beteken dit? Wat is my reg, maar ook my verpligting as ons van algemene regte mense praat? Wat beteken verkiesing? Hoe gaan 'n regering as gevolg van 'n verkiesing tot stand kom? Wie gaan in beheer van wat wees? Wat beteken dit as ons wette maak? Wat beteken dit as Namibië sy eie geldeenheid het? Wat gebeur dit as ons ewe skielik ons eie land moet bestuur? En dan het ons natuurlik mense soos ons wat van universiteite kom en so aan. Maar wat beteken dit vir die man in een van die verste dorpies? Hy moet nou gaan sy kruisie trek. Is hy bewus daarvan dat dit nie net sy toekoms gaan wees nie, maar ook sy kinders se toekoms? En ons het agtergekom, die mense was so honger om betrokke te wees, om hulle kant te bring en die samehorigheidsgevoel is iets wat ek as van die beste herinneringe koester en ek dink vandag nog, ons kan nie die land laat werk, ons kan dit wat verkeerd is, ontslae van raak, laat ek dit nou maar so saggies stel, en dan 'n toekoms bewerk wat vir ons almal kan werk.
Die uitstalling loop het op die 11de Maart begin en dit loop tot die 27ste Maart en dit is oop vir die offentlikheid vir die publiek van 8 uur tot 5 uur op werksdae, maandag tot vrydag.